everyone. Welcome back to Glitter Budget with your hosts, Ann Jeanette.
And Jess.
And in today's episode, we're discussing the movie Girl Interrupted. And this is the second movie in our suicide mental health awareness,
Recovery
awareness kind of series because September is bringing awareness about all those things.
Yes.
So that's kind of like September's thing. So, Jess, take it away.
The movie was directed by James Mangold.
Mangold.
It was based off a book that Susanna Kaysen, who's obviously the main character in the film, she had written a book on her own experience, 18-month experience being in a psychiatric hospital in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess Winona Ryder had read her book, obtained the rights to it, basically the rights to be able to make a film of it. It took 7 years for her to convince someone to want to do it. And then she actually specifically picked James Mangold to direct it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting of her like being actually pretty passionate about wanting to portray that story. And I guess she had said too, like, the way that the movie was done, her experiences, the way that she had written her story, she had really wished that she had watched a movie like that when she was a teen.
Yeah.
So, but before we get into the deets of that and like our own experiences and such, events that happened in '99.
Yes.
I feel like we've gone over these events before. If we have,
I don't think these specific events.
no,
But
I don't know.
We did do a movie that was in 1999 before, because I remember I was talking about Y2K.
Yes, yeah. I have the memory of a goldfish.
And
So, I don't know.
Mine.
Do you know where you are right now? No. Okay.
Who are you? Yeah, we're both really, really bad. It's just early onset dementia. It's fine.
Wow. I don't know.
For both of us, I'm not saying just you. It's me too.
Christ. Oh. Clinton. Bill.
Clinton. Bill.
Was acquitted. So his impeachment trials and all that other fun jazz that basically I feel like it's the only thing that he's remembered for as a president, despite the fact of doing a bunch of other shit. It's the only thing he's remembered for is just smoking pot and getting his dick sucked. But he was
Yes.
so crass.
You tell it like it is, and that's why I like you.
Could have put it in other ways, but I don't know, whatever. He was acquitted of those things.
Economy of phrasing. That's what you're known for.
Bill Gates officially became the richest man in the world.
Not anymore, Bill.
Nope.
Bezos beat you out. So what I'm saying is we eat the rich and disperse their wealth.
I'm fine with that.
Because we take all of their billions of dollars and we disperse. That would solve a lot of things.
Probably.
It would solve world hunger.
Yeah.
It would solve poverty. It's just a lot of things.
Theoretically.
I'm just saying, like, billions. That's a number that we cannot fully grasp.
No, I can't fathom having that kind of money.
Like, millions is one thing. Billions?
Like, I can't imagine one never having to worry about finances, period, like for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, every time you go to purchase something, not even like batting an eye at it because you don't have to worry about it.
But at that point, you're just hoarding money. You're hoarding it.
I have to say, despite of all the conspiracy theorists out there that, Bill Gates wants to like put tracking devices in us and all this other stupid shit, at least Bill Gates is like doing stuff with his fortune.
I think they could do more.
Probably.
Because they could donate billions of their money and still have billions left.
Yeah. We could get into this topic.
Sorry,
for a while.
that's
we're
another
not gonna...
thing for another day. Sorry, I'm just
No, you're right though, but I could see like starting to get angry.
Yeah,
Starting to get cranky pants about it.
just a little bit. But the last event that happened in 1999 is very serious event, but it was huge and impacted our country in a huge way. But it wasn't the first. And it was definitely not the last of what happened, but it was the school shooting, the Columbine school shooting.
Yeah. I remember being at home when that happened. I think at that time I was homeschooled, and then that happened, and my mom was like, "This is why." But yeah, that was like, I mean, aside for 9/11 for my age, I mean, that was probably one of those things of like starting to have like an impact and really not understanding why.
Yeah, and the fact that uh, it's school shootings have not ceased
They've
since
not
then.
ceased, and like they've become such the norm again that like I know we talked about this before, but it's awful to say I've almost become like desensitized to it.
Unfortunately, yeah. Until we
Like
got
it's
to
not a rare event anymore.
no, which that's a problem in and of itself. But then I think the next school type shooting that really affected everyone was Sandy Hook.
Yeah. Well,
But
we were
that
so
was
young.
yeah, that was an elementary school, not a high school. And they I think the back to Columbine, I think the mothers there is a book that one of them wrote about being the mother of one of the Columbine school shooters.
Yeah.
And I've heard that it's kind of like haunting.
I can imagine. Like I
Cuz
just
yeah, it was just, like it was I think the first big like it kind of woke a lot of people up. I think not only because of the like the devastation, like they killed a lot of people, injured a lot of people, ended up killing themselves, right?
I can't remember if they ended up killing themselves or they were taken out by the police. I think they killed themselves.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure they killed themselves.
But I feel like too, I feel like at this point, again, because like it's not a rare event, I think just about everybody either has experienced something like that or has been close to people who have experienced a similar type of situation. So like
Yeah.
I did 1 year of junior high, like actually in school. The other two, I was homeschooled.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at a very small school in Redline, Pennsylvania, and my first year in high school, um, I went up to tech, but I still knew a couple people down at the junior high or whatever, and I was in and out of the principal's office a lot and the guidance counselor's office a lot, so I still like talked to some of those people, and unfortunately, our principal at that time he was shot and killed by a student.
Oh Jesus.
My sister's elementary school, and I remember this too. I remember hearing about it during lunch. One of our teachers had like the local news on. It was breaking news, and it was at my sister's school. So I like had a complete meltdown. But one of the parents came in with a machete and attacked a couple of the staff trying to get in because he had like wasn't able to see his kids. It was like the domestic thing, so the kids were
Holy
like taken away,
shit.
kind of thing, and. Yeah, so he came in. Luckily, like my sister didn't see anything. Like I think she was in the cafeteria at the time. They locked it down pretty quick. And just I think 3 or 4 female staff, including the principal, like basically subdued them on their own.
Good.
I think a couple like
Jesus.
somebody lost a finger. Like there were some injuries, but luckily like no
Yeah.
deaths or anything like that. But
It's just and it's crazy that the things that we've developed in order to try to like survive a school shooting other than gun control, like
just again, just mental health awareness.
or
Like there are
that
warnings. There are
too.
so many warning signs with all of those situations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just like we've gotten a lot better with discussing mental health and just being open about it and accepting it as
Mm-hmm.
you're going to go get help just as if you would if you had an infection or the flu or whatever. Like it should be a normal thing that you can go get treatment for without being stigmatized or
Yeah.
people second guessing like your just overall well-being and functioning. And I'm a huge constant harper about this, and I actually posted something about this earlier this week. Is the amount, like the lack of respect that mental health and recovery specialists get, the lack of funding,
Mm-hmm.
like it's a fucking problem, and it just royally pisses me off to no end. To no end, because like we don't have it depend, and again, it all depends on just like with anything in like healthcare, your socioeconomic status. But a lot of people who need mental health treatment and especially addiction treatment, you're on Medicaid. And in
Mm-hmm.
over 30 years, we have gotten like a $20 increase in reimbursement rates.
Mm.
Like that's not helping with inflation, and they're required to do more and more schooling to be able to get your degrees to be able to help, which is
Yeah.
fine. But there's so many people that I know that are licensed clinical social workers who are in debt that's over $100,000 to get
Jesus
paid
Christ.
significantly lesser than their counterparts in other medical fields that are probably spending about the same amount for their degrees.
Oh yeah, just like any specialist dealing in like medical issues like podiatry or whatever, like all those kind of like they're they're making bank.
Yep.
Because that has to do with like the body and not the mind.
So I don't know. This shit just like it just pisses me off. Like the article that I was reading that I posted earlier this week is locally in Pennsylvania, there have been several rehab facilities who have had to close because they've had to like decrease their admissions rate for COVID to try to like spread everything out. They did not get priority by any means for appropriate PPE. So like they were begging people to like, I need money or I need funds or like I need this appropriate PPE, and they were the last ones to receive the materials that they needed to provide care for their staff. And they're like, as far as like hazard pay and stuff like that, like some were received the grant that recently came out for that, but they're like, I can't necessarily afford to pay the staff what they need for hazard pay as well. So like facilities are starting to close down now, like smaller ones, because it sucks. And again, like for Medicaid, I mean, you're lucky to get $100 a day for a bed, and that's increased by maybe like $20, where commercial plans pay like a good bit more. But again, like the population that you're treating, not to say that people of affluence or whatever struggle with the same things they do, but quite frankly, especially in Pennsylvania, like your population's going to be on Medicaid, a good chunk of it.
Yeah, but also depending on your, like you said, your affluence and everything like that. Like that's why you notice like a significant amount of homeless people having mental health issues, because when you are treated every day, like day in and day out, like you are trash, that will affect you.
Yeah.
And the fact that you cannot get access to a lot of things because you do not have a home impacts that even more.
Yeah. And I would just say like fast access to, like quick access for mental health treatment. Drug and alcohol treatment is pretty quick, fairly, but like to see a psychiatrist and stuff, I mean, you could be waiting for a month to 3 months. Like I just sent somebody up for an intake appointment with somebody local. That again, like accepts Medicaid, Medicare, and October is their intake appointment to see the psychiatrist. They get them counseling a hell of a lot faster, so they'll start counseling in the meantime, which is fine. But like somebody who's transitioning from a different state and needs to establish care for psych meds, that's a problem.
And at the time of filming this, by the way, this is still August, so it's a long time to wait.
Yeah.
So, but when this airs, it'll be September.
Right. But yeah, so it's about a month and a half, which I hate to say it isn't that bad. To some of the other waits that I've experienced for my clients. So, it's a huge issue. But to piggyback off of what you were saying in regards to homelessness, that was something like historically, obviously people who needed to have mental health treatment, be hospitalized, were treated like garbage. Like a lot of the institutions and stuff were absolutely abysmal treatment. So in Kennedy's era, there was a lot of reform where people weren't expected to stay in psychiatric hospitals for long periods of times, 10 years, a lifetime, whatever.
Yeah.
So there was like, I want to say there was over 500,000 people at that time of this trying to be overhauled that were in institutions and had been for well over a year.
Yeah.
So a lot of them were released, but unfortunately, the aftercare plan wasn't real great as far as outpatient treatment goes.
I can only imagine.
So that's where, and too, I mean, you got to think about it. Like a lot of these families hadn't seen their family members in how many years, and kind of just like, this is where you go, and this is where you're gonna be taken care of. And that's where like we had this huge insurge of homeless population, is when all these people were released and given very poor, if any, home plans set up after discharge.
Yeah, I can, like, just knowing how difficult it can be now, just fast forwarding, I don't even want to do the math because I'm not willing to admit that it's 2020. Back to the 60s, like it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And
Is that 80 years ago?
What? In the 60s? Like 60. Depending on when in the 60s.
Oh, I know where I went wrong. I was doing 60 plus 20.
No.
80. I was like, that doesn't sound right, because my parents are not that
old.
like,
my mom's not even 60 yet.
As well as fuzzy memories, math is not my strong suit.
You've seen me try to math.
Oddly enough, I had straight A's in math in high school.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
That is true. And all those teachers that are like, you're not going to have a calculator with you for the rest of your life. Well, boom, fucker, we do. But that's why I should not have, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm dumb.
It's okay. No, but it was like I said, the movie Girl Interrupted portrays though Susanna's experience where
I'm
let
doing
it
the head
go.
mouth now.
Yeah,
I'm
all
doing it
right.
now. I didn't. The hamster was
It was
waking
getting
back
there.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you know, her experience is she is in denial about her suicide attempt, but she does attempt suicide.
Yeah, they say quite a lot. Like, you chased a bottle of aspirin with a bottle of vodka, and she's like, I had a headache.
And I think eventually, and she continues to say at one point, like, you know, I'm not suicidal. Like, I just wanted shit to stop.
Mhm.
And I think that's just a way of expressing, like, I don't know how to handle my depression. I don't know how to handle my symptoms. I just want relief. So it's kind of one of those things. Like, I didn't necessarily want to die. I just needed quiet.
Yeah.
And I think you know, it's still like you engage in an activity that caused almost your death.
Yeah.
So, but she, you know, goes to see a family psychiatrist after they pump her stomach and stuff. And, you know, the psychiatrist was retired and wasn't
It was
all
Red
that
Foreman
great.
from
Yeah.
that 70s show.
Don't worry, he didn't threaten to put a boot up her ass.
Mm.
But he's like, you know, I think instead of treating her on an outpatient basis, and she was very like experiencing dissociation and disconnect for sure. He was just like, you need a rest. You need somewhere where you could just have a rest, which I guess is a very common term used back then to just we're just gonna put you in a hospital because we don't really want to deal with it.
Yeah. You're gonna rest.
So, and she was under the impression that she would be there for like maybe 2 weeks, which turned into 18 months.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, though, too, like they didn't, when she was signing herself in, they didn't explain what that means. Like it was voluntary. Like she did not have to go. And she's like, well, my parents put me in here. And they're like, you're 18. You didn't have to go.
Yeah, like you actually, but they were pretty much coercing her to sign the intake papers. And in a part of those papers is that you sign away, like, you can't just leave either.
Yeah.
Like, we have to discharge you. You can't just, like, even though you signed yourself in, you can't sign yourself out.
No.
Because that was the waiver that she signed. She's like, hey, I'm turning myself over to your care. You take the ball now.
Yep. So it's a determination of when they feel like you're able to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it ended up, like I said, turning into 18 months of just random medications. And she, you know, she would always ask, like, it was never discussed. Like her plan of care, her diagnosis was never discussed. The medications that she was put on was never really discussed. So she would ask the nurses of like, what is this? And the one nurse was like, are we gonna have a problem?
Yeah.
Like, just take your medication.
And just a lot of laxatives.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird.
I guess I know with painkillers anyway,
Yeah.
you have to take laxatives. But I don't know if it's the same thing with antipsychotics. I don't know if,
Especially the meds back then. I have no clue.
they know that they had Valium because they kept on. That was kind of like they had like a bartering system. Well, what a lot of they dealt with a lot of different issues in this ward. Because there were girls that had eating disorders. There were sociopaths like Angelina Jolie's character, who like she was a lifer.
Yeah, she was there for like 8 years.
Yeah, and then they had all sorts. They had a girl who, not entirely sure how she got the burns to her face because Georgina, the pathological liar, said what had happened to her face. So I'm not entirely sure, but she was in there probably because of that.
Well, because of that, and then I think like there was a couple of girls, I think her included, that just kind of was stuck in this childhood like state. Like
Yeah.
they didn't want to really grow up.
Yeah.
And there was a couple girls in there that were probably on the autism spectrum, ID.
Yeah.
So it was definitely like a wide range of. And then Brittany Murphy's character, who also had like the eating disorder, in addition to what turned out to most likely be severe sexual abuse by her father.
Oh God, yeah, and that was fucked up. That was really fucked up.
Yeah. But Angelina Jolie's character in general was horribly fucked up.
Oh yeah, they were like just I don't know, the way she was going at Brittany Murphy's character, and then the way she ended up killing herself.
Yeah.
Was really, really bad. That was like she was making sure that it was
a done deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, like I said, I think the movie portrays like the treatment that they were getting or lack thereof in certain cases, the different types of people that you encounter, and then Susanna's just perspective of it, of herself, of what she was going through, of maybe realizing that, like I could go get help and I could talk about this. Like,
Mhm.
there's several people that, including Whoopi Goldberg's character, were like, you don't need to be here.
Yeah. It was
Like,
kind of
you
like,
don't need to be here.
yeah, 'cause she was, Susanna's character was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which they kind of joke about saying that, like, well, everyone has it because of the way that they would deal with daily stressors and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And most people with BPD, they are very promiscuous with sex or something like they take casual sex as like that's just one thing that they like doing.
Yeah.
Um, but Angelina Jolie's character is like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's everyone. Not the case because there's like especially mental health professionals now, like they know the difference between adolescents and those with true bipolar disorder.
Borderline.
Borderline personality. Sorry, did I
Okay.
keep saying bipolar?
Just that once.
Not bipolar. Sorry, borderline. Borderline. But it is still BPD, right?
Borderline personality disorder.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just BD for bipolar disorder.
It's okay. You got it.
I has the dumb.
You got it.
I got it eventually.
Oh, but I don't like I said, I thought the movie was done very well. I actually saw this movie in theaters. So I was 13 at the time. And I don't know. I don't really. I mean, I definitely felt certain ways about it. It was definitely kind of like an eye opener a little bit. Didn't really do much for me in the long run, but
Oh, I watched it for the first time last night.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. I think if they were to make a movie like that now, they would definitely put warnings beforehand saying like trigger warnings.
yeah.
Because they talk about a lot of different issues and stuff like that, or like they
just,
would put.
just the whole scene with Brittany Murphy and Angelina Jolie was
Oh
like.
God, that was fucked.
I don't remember that having an impact on me at 13, and then watching it. I mean, I've watched it a couple times since then, and then especially last night, I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, that was brutal, just brutal.
Yeah, and you're like, wow. Also, Brittany Murphy, I miss you.
Yeah.
She passed away young.
I don't remember what year, honestly.
Oh, I don't know, but it was I think it was from pneumonia and anemia.
Yeah.
That was unfortunate.
Uh,
Also, very depressed about Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
We're gonna have linked in the description box the National Suicide Hotline. If any of these movies that we're talking about, like if anything strikes a chord with you in any way, you feel like you need to talk to someone, we're gonna have resources linked in the description box for anyone if you need it, because it's definitely better to like reach out than to let it sit and fester and everything. It's just sometimes just talking to someone helps.
Absolutely.
And they have resources where you can just like text people if you don't feel comfortable like calling someone on the phone, because I know there's a lot of us, myself included, I don't like talking to people on the phone. But there's a way that you can just kind of like just text people and just get some of the shit out.
Yeah. Or links. I mean, one, just to get stuff out in that moment, and then also like to be connected with local resources to follow up with that. So. But we'll absolutely have that, and I mean, I think absolutely, like, if you guys haven't seen the movie, check it out. Like I said, I think it speaks volumes to what mental health treatment was like in the past. Again, somebody just going through trying to get help, a cry for help, not realizing like how to do it, and then ending up being in a hospital for 18 months somehow.
Yeah, but it ended up being a good thing in the end.
Yeah.
She just had to go through a lot of different shit, which I think any kind of therapy you do, like, you're gonna dredge up shit, but you have to dredge it up to, like, you gotta feel it in order to move on. And I think that was the case with Susanna.
She definitely got that. I mean, I think her experience of, in denial of how like severe her mental health was,
Mm-hmm.
looking at everybody else that she was like in the hospital with, and then she escaped with Lisa at one point, thinking that again that she didn't really need to be there, but she wasn't actually like again addressing any of her issues while she was there either.
No.
So it was just a continued like escapism essentially, and kind of already having like this inferior complex based on the way she was raised, because you're just supposed to be like dolled up mom that's at home having dinner parties and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's questions of like, why aren't you going to college? Well, you want to be a writer? Well, what's your actual plans? Like, what does that
Yeah, like, what
actually
are you
mean?
going to do? Which I think that is a lot of pressure, especially for like a high school
Yeah.
student.
Well, not only is it a lot of pressure, but she's telling you what she's doing, and that's not an acceptable answer. Is what
Yeah.
the response that she was getting.
Yeah.
Which, and again, for back then in the 60s, it was like you basically went to college to be a better wife. And wasn't
Yeah.
expected that you were actually going to do anything with your degree.
And they kind of assumed that if you weren't going to do something like that you were some kind of liberal, hippy dippy kind of person that was going to march on Washington.
You're a
And
communist.
yeah. Pinko
beatnik.
commie fucks.
But no, it was it actually the role that Angelina Jolie had played, who many people auditioned for. I think Rose McGowan was one.
Yeah.
Courtney Love.
Courtney Love is.
Yeah, those are the two main actresses that I remember was Rose McGowan, Courtney Love. But it landed her an Oscar win for best supporting actress.
Best supporting actress, but that was the only Oscar nomination for that movie.
Which blows my mind.
Yeah, like no, and that's that. No other nods, no other nothing. Just for whatever reason, Angelina Jolie, getting that one. But it was deserved. She did a really good job, and I would not want to come across that person.
I was to say, I mean, you definitely grow to just hate her character.
Yeah, she was diagnosed as a sociopath, right? That she didn't.
Yeah, she was diagnosed as it, but I would argue that diagnosis, but
I'd think so too. Yeah, like she did feel things.
yeah.
She was just kind of depraved.
Oh yeah.
She enjoyed being that very dominant figure, being in control of everything, and when the tables were turned, it was kind of like that fucked her up.
Yeah, but she even says at the end though, because I mean, she was known for again pushing people's buttons and not really caring about it. Because she does it with Brittany Murphy, and then she presumably does it with when she gets brought back in from that one run. There was that one girl who was over at the.
She was the one that I think was on the spectrum.
Yeah, so she goes over to what we would call now the quiet room.
Yeah, it's an isolation room. I think it's like padded walls and everything like that.
Where she was, anytime that she ran off and was brought back in was automatically basically doped up because she was like too aggressive and violent, put back in that room. But you see like the one girl go over there and apparently like probably talking to Lisa, and later that night she is taken out of her room in like a violent fit, and
yeah, she's in a straitjacket and everything like that.
So God only knows like what.
And the door to the isolation room was open.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it was I don't know. It was like I said, it was a really strong performance, and it was really intense. So I could understand how she took home the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress at that time.
Yeah, she took it very seriously too, like to the point where she didn't want to really hang out or meet with Winona Ryder.
She had no communication during filming, hardly, or leading up to it,
so that her performance could be authentic. She didn't want like a personal relationship to color her
being a sociopath, essentially. Yeah. But no, I don't like I said, check it out. It was really good. Again, like we've come so far from treatment like that, but we also still need to go much farther.
Yeah, we're better, but we're not good.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there are other countries that are like it's better to be mentally ill somewhere else.
No, that's it. I mean, we've definitely come a long way. It's just I think at this point, not a lot of people, especially psychiatrists, are going into the field. So I just, again, depending on like what state you're in and what city you're in, I think it's just lack of access. Like I think treatment, as far as treatment models, medication, stuff like that, have gotten a lot better. And again, like unless it's truly needed and truly that severe, your average hospital stay at this point is typically about 10 days to 2 weeks. At the again, depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
So, and you're not just left to your own devices most of the time.
Yeah. They let them roam
Oh my
far, like alone. Just like they all went into like underground tunnels.
Which is like the way
That
that it was set up, like the whole thing. I mean, so like just me, being in the field and also being on the other end and experiencing being in a hospital setting like that, none of those things would have happened. Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't have had hardly any of the stuff that they had in their bedrooms, like wouldn't have been in there. Maybe books.
Yeah.
That was about it. I think I was allowed to have some drawing material, but I think I had to keep it like in the nurse's station when I wasn't using it.
Yeah.
Just all that kind of stuff was just not allowed. Like obviously back then they didn't have like key fobs and stuff, so it had to be lock and key. But like, the one nurse that was always falling asleep like behind the nurse's station at night, and she was like the only staff
Yeah.
member. Like that doesn't fucking happen.
Or like they knew when they would go out for smoke breaks.
Yeah.
Because they were regular smoke breaks, and they had a male orderly in the female ward.
Never happened. No, actually I lied. It does. There's typically a mix. But not orderlies. Like not so your orderlies now would probably be like your mental health techs.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different, but to the extent though of like leaving them alone at night with like a male orderly.
Oh yeah. And then oof, that was also fucked. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
don't prey on the no. Stop it.
I guess like I don't know. When I was looking at like his particular character though, it actually didn't bother me too much. Because he wasn't inappropriate with her, and I think he was looking at her of like seeing through what she was, you know what I mean? Like seeing her as a whole person and like
Well,
what
yeah,
her
like
potential was.
I think he also realized that she didn't actually need to be there either.
Yeah.
Still a little inappropriate.
It wasn't professional. It was a little inappropriate, but I didn't get like that creepy.
Not creepy. I wasn't
vibe
trying to
from
say
it.
creepy. It was just like, dude, you're crossing lines
yeah.
that you can't uncross. It's not good, bro. Jared Leto though.
That hair was ridiculous.
He's so nice. I did not realize just how many big name people were in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Jeffrey Tambor, who is much heavier in this movie than I've seen him recently,
Yes.
but he was in this movie. Vanessa Redgrave, Whoopi Goldberg, Jared Leto, Winona Ryder, Angelina Jolie, Cleo Duvall.
Yeah.
She's been in quite a lot of things, but what I recognize her from is an episode of Buffy, and she looked exactly the same because I think they're around the same time.
Yeah.
Late 90s. And Elizabeth Moss, who is in The Handmaid's Tale,
Yep.
along with Cleo Duvall.
And for a hot second, for like maybe 2 minutes, it was a very young
Misha
Misha
Collins. I love him. He's so adorable.
He is.
But yeah, there's a lot of people in this movie, and then I don't know how, with some of them, how big they were then, but then you just, fast forward about 20 years and look at them now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool.
It
to
is.
see them all then. But yeah, so we're going to continue our series. The next movie that we're going to do is
Requiem for a Dream. Let's continue with the Jared Leto theme.
yeah, that one's fucked up too.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. But yeah, we're going to have all the resources linked in the description box down below, as well as all of our social media platform things. And if you like our vibe, please like and subscribe.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in our next episode. Okay? Bye-bye.